You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today we are on part 2 of our Cabral house call. So every weekend I'm answering your questions. Today is no different. We're going to go through 4 questions actually today. Some of them are actually a little bit of a follow-up from yesterday. So make sure you do tune in if you can every single day. I do try to keep my weekday episodes somewhere around the 12-minute mark, 10 to 12 minutes as best I can. And the weekend house calls are just a wee bit longer, maybe about 15 minutes. And today obviously should be no different. We have 4 great calls and we are going to answer them all in a row. So let's get started right now. The first question is from Carol. Carol wrote in and said, "First, I started listening to your podcast a couple months ago and love them and really appreciate that you take the time out of your busy schedule to do this. I listened to your constipation podcast yesterday on colon cleansing, colonics versus enemas versus powders versus teas. That was episode 290. So if you didn't check that one out, I break down, what's the difference between colonics, enemas, laxative powders, or colon-based cleanses, and also teas. And I basically just talked about how they're different and why there might be benefits to each one of them for you, and how, for the most part, they're all short-term things to do. So just go to stephencabral.com/290 if you didn't check that one out. All right, so she goes on to write, I think you mentioned you were going to do another podcast on constipation, so I thought I'd send my question to see if you can help. So yes, Carol, in the future, I'll be doing a whole show on constipation because I know that it is such a big issue. So I want to go through it step by step. But today I'm going to answer your question personally. So she wrote, I have had chronic constipation for as long as I can remember, even as a young girl. I've had stabbing abdominal pain. She's been to many doctors. They basically just tell her to take more fiber. She's saying the fiber doesn't help. She went to a holistic doctor and he recommended that she take magnesium. Finally, something got things moving, ! Unfortunately, I had to take pretty high doses, 800 to 1200 milligrams every night, and even that doesn't guarantee that I will have a bowel movement the next day. I don't know if people realize how uncomfortable it can be not to have a bowel movement for days or even weeks. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions? Thank you. So, since half of my practice is digestive-based and constipation is more predominant than loose stool, although I work with people, again, who have 10 to 20, loose stools per day, meaning diarrhea, and that's just as debilitating, right? If not, sometimes more so, because their body is just constant inflammation. Things are just moving out. Constipation is far more uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable, just like Carol was saying. So I completely empathize where you're at. And more people are constipated than they think. Just because someone has one bowel movement a day doesn't mean that they're not constipated. If it's an effort to have that bowel movement, you are constipated. You should basically wake up in the morning, hour later, or once you have your smoothie or something like that, you should have a bowel movement. Like, that's normal and it should be effortless. It shouldn't be forced out, any of those specific, types of things. You shouldn't need anything. So the nice thing is Carol let me know what doesn't work, and that's fiber. And if you tuned in yesterday, I give you different methodologies for what might work. Now, if you heard yesterday, I talked about how magnesium can and does help. So why would magnesium help Carol? Magnesium helps Carol because she is suffering most likely from a sympathetic nervous system, a tension-based form of constipation. It's different than a lack of fiber. It's different than taking in too much protein. It's different than being dehydrated. It's basically a lack of a wave movement, a wave-like movement in the intestines to move the food along. And usually that happens because some people don't hold the tension necessarily in their upper back or neck or shoulders. They might actually hold that tension and nervousness and anxiety in their gut. And Carol sounds like she might be one of those people. So Carol, a couple things. One is I would split your dosage up. I would actually take magnesium when you first wake up in the morning, and I would take the magnesium before bed. So if you're doing 800, you could certainly do 500 at a time if you'd like. The easier thing is just to use the powder for now. Instead of using magnesium glycinate, I would like you to use magnesium glycinate. I would like you to use it during the day, but you can use magnesium citrate powder before bed and also in the morning when you wake up. That should make a little bit more of an effortless bowel movement. And then you're going to have to work on, so look deep, look at what's going on in your life, look at why there might be this extra tension in your body. Work on your breathing, work on your relaxation. All of that will help tremendously. So hopefully that gives you a great starting point. And I think we really have located that it's a nervous system based issue right now. It's a tension based issue. And we need to move you more into that parasympathetic nervous system. So let's just make sure, again, if I was meeting with Carol in my office, or doing a Skype consultation, I would ask her, are you on any allergy medication? You're on any asthma medication? Are you taking any pills that would cause you to lose this peristaltic wave? Like, are you on anything that produces more norepinephrine, or are you on Ritalin or Adderall, or are you taking, again, like different types of medications? We'll just put it that way. Okay. So again, I don't know. I don't have all this background. And again, ethically, like I can't give you a full plan on the house call, but hopefully this was enough information to really get you going. All right. Carolina is up next, or Carolina. Never know exactly how that person pronounces that name. Let me just read this. Thank you so much for the holiday PDF. I know there's a reason why my office, we had this question in there. I was one of those people that only did cardio because I thought it was the best way to lose weight or stay in shape. But then I started training with weights after listening to your podcast. I'm still an amateur at this. This tool is a great help. Please keep them coming. Thank you, Dr. Cabral. I'm so glad you found your podcast. So actually, many people wrote in and I asked for that. So I do appreciate that, because on I believe it was, episode 292. So StephenCabral.com/292. Free online personal training workout. So when I create online workouts for private clients, I actually create it using this specific type protocol, and we just laid it all out. I gave people a sample of that. I gave them a workout that they could do while traveling. They could do it at home. They could do it before any big event going out, and it will help to better absorb that glucose. So the reason why this is in here is because I wanted to thank everyone who just said thank you for giving that workout. And also I want everyone to be able to download that workout because it's completely free. So please do enjoy it. It's pretty much 95 out of 100 people could do that workout, no problem at all. All right. Michelle's up next. Michelle's asking, hi, Stephen Cabral. I've noticed the sides of my tongue appear scalloped. I'm wondering what might be causing this. What might be causing this? And what can I do to fix it? I looked up some causes online, but I don't feel I fall into any of these categories. I don't have high blood pressure or thyroid problems, and I'm not dehydrated. I'm in very good health, and I exercise 3 to 4 times a week. Thank you for any information you can pass on. I love your podcast. Warm regards, Michelle. All right, great question. And this is the truth, is that there's some crazy things written online. And that's why please do not self-diagnose with Dr. Google. Dr. Google can give you a very good place to start, but absolutely do not just follow a protocol because you saw it online unless it lines up with every single thing you've been reading, right? So if you read a book and then it says it online, and you also talk to a friend who went to a naturopathic doctor, a functional medicine practitioner, or an Ayurvedic doctor, one of those, and they said that too, well, then there's a very good chance that that is the right thing that you should do. So I'm not going to discount that at all. And I actually, I guess I'm like half joking, but online, when they say you have scalloping, the bumps on the side of your tongue. So, all right, so let's talk about this. A lot of people may not know that you can actually use your tongue as a very good diagnostic tool. So you're not going to look at your tongue and say, oh, this person has lupus, or, oh, this person has Hashimoto's. It does not work that way. Please. I mean, it's not that type of diagnostic tool. I use it in my practice. I use iridology in my practice. I use everything in my practice. And the reason is this. I tell people all the time when they come to see me, I want at least a half a dozen to a dozen different things to keep saying to me over and over and over, this is what's wrong with this person. This is what's wrong with this person. This is the underlying imbalance. Fix this, you fix the disease, the dis-ease in air quotes. So when I see online that someone's saying like, oh, well, it means, potentially high blood pressure. Well, not really. No, the tongue is the best diagnostic tool to look at inflammation, to look at digestive issues, to look at bacterial overgrowth, to look at yeast overgrowth, to look at vitamin deficiencies, to look at nervous system based issues, not to diagnose specific things, but it does a great job at looking at the overall things. So, you know what? If people are interested, I'm going to do a whole show on tongue diagnosis because I went and studied this in China and in India and Sri Lanka. And when I was over there and studying both forms of medicine, they say the same thing. These aren't coincidences. This is the real deal, and it really does look deeper into the body. So, having said that, let's talk a little bit more about it. when you have the scalloping, which just basically means there's like these little indents on the side of your tongue, and it almost looks like someone took like a little bite out of the side of each of your tongue because it has like these teeth marks. So mistakenly in conventional medicine, they believe that that means that your tongue is too big for your mouth and that your teeth are actually creating these divots. That's completely insane. It really is. And the reason why I say it like that is because, first of all, the scallops for the most part don't line up with actually how the people's teeth are on the sides. Second is that when your tongue touches the sides of your teeth, unless you have like these monumental divots in the side of your teeth. Most people's teeth are pretty much in alignment for the most part. You're not going to create this scalloping, and the scalloping in the side of people's tongue is uniform. Your teeth are not uniform, meaning like the molars as you move to the front of your mouth, the teeth shrink in size. The scalloping does not necessarily happen like that. And as the tongue sits in the bottom of your mouth, it relaxes. So it basically starts to shrink a little bit as well. And as it rolls against your teeth, I just use the word there, it rolls. It doesn't indent. That's not how it works. So Ayurvedic medicine, of course, knew this 6,000 plus years ago. Chinese medicine, 3,000 plus years ago. And it's scalloping the side of the tongue is always equated with weak digestion, poor digestion, poor absorption. So look at that first. It just basically means, so you can't just use that, right? You look at the whole tongue. If the tongue is a little swollen, it can mean like, basically inflammation in the gut. If it's dark or red, it can mean inflammation. If your tongue also has a whiter coating, again, I don't want to turn this into a tongue diagnosis, but I look at the whole thing. And so it always means weakened digestion. Sometimes it's lack of hydrochloric acid. Sometimes it's other reasons, but that's the reason, Michelle. So hopefully that helps. All right, Mike is up next. Mike's question is, hi, Stephen. I've been suffering from asthma for as long as I can remember. However, my late teens, early adult years, asthma seemed non-existent for many years. Then all of a sudden it came back, and I've been suffering ever since. Cold weather, smoke, stress, being around animals all seem to bring on an asthma attack. So does working out. However, when I work out for a long period of time, that seems to help. Any recommendations on what I can do to control it better or get rid of asthma altogether? Great question. So I mentioned it yesterday on the house call. I told you I was going to teach you essentially how I practice medicine. I was going to teach you that this in the future, it's not happening now at any school. This is the future of medicine. I really believe it, is that you look at the context of the person. You don't have a person come in and says, oh, well, if they match up on this side of the chart, then they have X, and you treat them with this pill or this vitamin. This is a perfect example. Mike had asthma. It went away from some of his teenage, early adult years. It came back. It's worse in cold weather, around smoke, being around animals. It gets better, not with a short workout, but with a long workout. Okay, so these are the questions that I tease out, that I ask people, even if they don't think it's important to tell me, because this is what it tells me. Just like with Carol with the constipation, this is what this tells me, that your body produces something called norepinephrine, also called adrenaline in the US, from the adrenal glands. Basically, it's the hypothalamus telling the pituitary gland, telling the adrenals to produce something called norepinephrine or adrenaline from the adrenal medulla. And then the adrenal cortex then gets another signal from the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland to the cortex, now saying, let's produce cortisol. Well, cortisol is produced during times of higher stress, especially during those teenage, early adult years where we're super high on that stress level, going through relationships, going off to school, having to study for all these exams, trying to figure out our life. That's very, very stressful. During those times, additional cortisol is put out, additional adrenaline is put out. Well, that is why asthma can lessen, allergies can lessen. It makes perfect sense. Why? Because it mimics the exact same thing an inhaler would do. Why does taking a puff of an inhaler work for someone who's asthmatic or having an asthma attack? It is a shot of epinephrine. It is a shot of adrenaline. That allows the body to greatly decrease inflammation as well, and the body will also kick on cortisol production, a natural anti-inflammatory. You increasing your allergen load, being around animals in cold weather as well, because you could have winter allergies too, although that hurts allergies just in general. I mean, asthma in general, I'm going to talk about that. Same with smoke as a stressor is going to create more of that inflammation. That's going to be an issue right there in of itself. When you work out for a long period of time, what happens? Greater amount of cortisol is produced after 40 minutes. Testosterone starts to dip after 40 minutes. Cortisol starts to spike. It tells me Mike is a little burnt out. Mike went through that period of stress, was feeling good, but now he's coming back down the mountain. His body cannot produce as much adrenaline, cannot produce as much cortisol, or maybe he can produce the adrenaline, but he can't produce the cortisol. He doesn't have the amount of anti-inflammatories that he needs. Does he need more anti-inflammatories? Well, temporarily, yes. Temporarily, it will help. But what he needs is to naturally rebuild his adrenal glands. And when I say adrenal glands, I mean work on his central nervous system. So, Mike, my highest recommendation is to nourish the body, is to get those B vitamins in. Do the daily smoothies with the all-in-one powder. Use potentially an omega-3. You could run an omega-3 test to see if you are high on omega-6s. That's going to hurt your asthma. You want to boost those omega-3s if that omega-3 test says that. You could also run an adrenal hormone test if you wanted to see if it truly is those lowered amounts of cortisol. You'd have your data, you'd have your answer. But again, you might want to use the vitamin C, the B vitamins, the all-in-one, trying to take it easier, trying to give your body that time, a chance to rebuild, to nourish itself. And yes, absolutely yes, you can temporarily use things like vitamin D, like magnesium, like B vitamins, like the omega-3s to get rid of the asthma, but then work on it from a deeper underlying root cause level. Nourish the body, give it back its strength, decrease the inflammation naturally so that it doesn't come back. You're talking to someone who suffered wildly from allergies when he was younger. Allergies and asthma are directly connected. So you just want to look at that. You have to lower that total antigen load. You need to calm that inflammation levels down, and you really just need to rebuild that body. I know it's not a simple answer because you know what? If it was a simple answer, you'd already have your results by now. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be a simple answer. It doesn't mean that you need to figure this out tomorrow. That is the answer. Look at that specifically. You can work with my practice. You can work with a functional medicine doctor in your area. You can find a naturopathic doctor in your area. But tell them this is where you need to start. This is what it's all about. And a little, I don't know if it's a little teaser or not, but next year I have a book coming out, spring of 2017, that really helps people with all these different steps, right? Because I'm running a 10, 15-minute podcast. I'm looking at it right now. I know that I've gone over my time. I'm condensing basically 600 pages into 200 pages so that anyone can read it, anyone can implement it, because I want people to be able to use this for themselves. And I am going to literally give that book away at the lowest possible price so that I can get this information out to the world, to people who need it, to other health practitioners, so that people can start using this in their own practice. Because you know what? It works. It honestly does. I'm selling nothing with this. I just want you to get those results. And I believe in it. I see it work every day in my practice, and you deserve those same results. Thank you everyone for tuning into another amazing week. So many great questions. Really looking forward to tomorrow's Motivation and Mindset Monday. I do hope you'll check back then as well. Have a great rest of the weekend. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.